There is secrets in lightning. Oh yes, my fellow wilds hunters in waiting. Have you even seen this before? This flash of dark, this spark of bright. It sounds like I'm incanting a spell to make everything right! But no, this is a little extra tidbit that you can get from the official Wilds website. And it's atmospheric, right? It's cool. It's the land, well, blanketed by either real or artificial darkness, as lightning is our only source of illumination. And I think it tells us, or at least hints towards us, some very interesting things. See, this big center swirly rock, right? This rock is by far and away the most interesting landmark in what we currently know to be the Wilds world. And the answer to why it is the way that it is will almost certainly be tied to what is our big bad end boss, likely Elder Dragon causing a big deal of bad in Wilds. Maybe not as directly, but traditionally now Monster Hunter does seem to follow the theme of ultimately the end boss Elder Dragon is up to no good, not in a deliberate sense, just by virtue of its existence, and it is a big core part in shaping not just what's happening, but the land itself. Safi'jiiva's presence drawing Elder Dragons to die in the wrong place to feed it, which could have wiped out the new world if it had gone wrong. We have Sharish Valda disintegrating mountains, erasing them, the song, the Legiana going crazy, the rampage in Rise by Ibushi and Nawa, a threat to humanity itself in that region. And then, of course, the Curio at Geismagon's behest, a threat to humanity in every region if it grew unchecked. So will Wilds be that same kind of vein? Or with Wilds being so, well, wild, will it be more exploratory? Will we not be dealing with something that's a problem that needs to be stopped, but simply discovering the cause of the land being the way that it is, the shape that it is, the weather that it is, the lightning that is consistent to the point that clearly some set of people, past or present, have littered it with lightning-catching rods high in the sky, gleaming, to try and mitigate its effect. Because you don't put all of these up if it's just kind of, oh, every now and then we get lightning storms. No, you put these up if it is a constant, daily threat, issue, maybe even annoyance if you've dealt with it for long enough, but the point is they're there for a reason. I really kinda feel an ancient civilization tingle in me bones when I look at these, and it might well be we end up discovering the depths of a ancient civilization, either outpost or faction, or perhaps not the traditional ones that we already know about, but a old people that did live in this part of what we still think is the new world, and either coped with or eventually got wiped out by whatever is the cause of these constant racking lightning storms and winds and turbulent weather. It really does seem like something we're going to have to deal with both in Hunt, story-wise, and it's mechanically driving us to seemingly carry our tent round with us and not have permanent bases. That is a huge deal. That tells us a lot about how fiercely hard it is to presumably exist in these lands. So when we all take it back to that rock, well, questions get exciting and answers even more so. I talked a little bit ago about how so many of the rock formations do speak of Fulgarite, what happens when lightning strikes the ground with sand or loose dirt or sometimes even rock that it can warp. It forms these pillars of spongy-looking sediment, and scaled up, that's what we're jumping between on our new trusty flying mount. Or gliding mount? Flying just sounds more impressive. And then we take that eye over to the center, and is the question, was that just one colossal lightning strike? Did that used to be a whole mountain? Has it been bored out by something, well, perhaps natural, but not unintentional? And then we look a little bit to its left, which is something that I hadn't really noticed. There is a smaller, near identical one to its left that also has a big hole bored through it, this swirly formation. What if, I put it to you, this wasn't done separately? This was simply the trajectory of whatever shot through the first mountain, emerged from it, carried on, hit that second one, and did the same thing. A almost railgun-like beam of power, likely in the general shape of lightning, pierced mountains in this land, warping it into these shattered shapes, which is something that we know can happen. That, to me, is terrifying. What a monstrous display of power it might be. It's entirely also possible that for this world, they are just natural rock formations. But the thing is, you look around and you see other mountains here, and they don't mimic it. They look manipulated. And it might well be that the civilization that put up the lightning rods had something to do with it, but they stick out very deliberately, I feel, from everything else. If this was just how large rock formations be in this region, they would be everywhere. But these two specific that line up, that have the same hole and form the same swirl, and it's just a bit sus, you know what I'm saying? It's just a little bit okay. And then, when we look at that flash that I brought your attention to at the very start, the little bit of extra, which, if you're wondering, is a more zoomed out, extended view of this moment in the main reveal itself, where you're gliding along, there's a big strike against a lightning rod behind you, you land on the rock, and then all of a sudden, daytime seemingly returns, the storm, the smoke, the dust recedes, the lightning stops, and the land goes back to normal. That moment is this. You can see the lightning strike the same rod in the background. You can see the same crackles, the same receding. It very much feels like just literally that, but the camera is in a different place, which I think is very interesting. It does kind of imply that these moments are almost artificial darkness lightning storms that just kind of happen, last for a little bit, and then recede, perhaps at the mood or whim of a certain big, powerful Elder Dragon that may or may not be a final boss, question mark? Anyway, well, what we see is a very clear focus. Yes, our lightning rod takes a shock, and that is very cool, very clearly showing their purpose and design. But what else is very clear is the center, our mystery swirl, which sounds like a delicious pastry that you don't get told the ingredients of. This is crackling with power. Literally, you can see lightning arcing around its base, across the rocks, skittering up it. It is glowing, it is lit up. This strike hasn't come from above, it is just there. It is almost like this little bit of a clip begins just after the center has been struck by something colossal, and the ground itself is still dispersing the overwhelming amount of energy that has just been blasted into it. And it is terrifying to imagine that. Something capable of that level of output. That is Black Dragon level. That is Fatalis Brig Burn level, but in electrical form. It is quite literally turning night to day over there. The entire arc is a light in pure white and teal. That, to me, is something. That is something has done that over there. Because why would the lightning that strikes that be any more particularly powerful than the lightning striking everywhere else? unless the entire rock itself is a giant lightning rod that attracts the bulk of it, which is a potential answer, but then we would see some kind of metal or something suggestive of that. So to me, I would posit that the end boss of Base Wilds is going to end up being some sort of lightning dragon that has either caused these swirly mountains to exist over however many years old it is, perhaps stretching back to, whoever put these lightning rods here, which could be thousands of years ago, or it calls that center mountain its home, and its very existence, especially at night, just has it crackling with electricity. And the thing is, we very much think that this region is likely African-based, maybe with some Aztec Mayan-y influence, but for the most part, African. We talked about the twin giant serpents and how they could be representative of two very clear African serpent gods that would make sense. One of which, the rainbow serpent, controls, well, weather, rain, and indeed thunder. And if we look in real life, the most lightning active parts of the world, if we look at the top 500 locations that gain the most lightning strikes per square kilometer per year, over half of them are solely found in Africa. And that, I think, is quite telling. So the bottom line of what I wanted to get at today is that I think the center rocks, let's say, didn't always look like that. I think the end boss is going to very much be a lightning-based serpent, and I think there's going to be some ancient civilization shenanigans throughout our journey. I think it's always fun to think about the end boss because they're always such big deals when it comes to Monster Hunter experiences, especially 5th gen onwards. Let me know what you think of this, though, and for now, like if you enjoyed this, subscribe and hit the bell for more. Consider supporting the future of the channel on Patreon down below, and until we meet again, a goodbye.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.